Hello everyone and welcome to another Atomic Mass Transmissions live from my laundry slash hobby slash office. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. We're going to dive right in today and finish out the Green Goblin that we started last week. So if you missed last week's stream, you want to see how we got to where we are, be sure to go check that out on YouTube or on the Twitch archives. You can see exactly how we got the Green Goblin to the state that he's in now, using all the paints and all the techniques and all that good stuff. So we're going to try to finish out this guy today. So with that, I'm just going to get this camera off of my face and we're going to dive right into the good stuff and get going on this guy. So you can see we got a lot of really good foundational work done last time. We got the greens and the purples done for his outfit and his skin. We got a little bit of color on those pumpkin bombs. And the glider has its metallic on it as well. So our goal today is just kind of going to be to wrap this guy up, finish everything out. We're going to add some highlights. Now that our glazes and washes have all dried on this boy, we can kind of build up some layers and stuff, get him up there, finish out the glider, and hopefully have a pretty kicking Green Goblin ready to go. So, let's see, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to dive back in, and I'm going to start with, we're going to start on the greens just because I like working on green. So I think we're going to use, let's see, last time we used some green skin flesh. I think we're just going to jump up to, alright. What colors do we want here? I just have to find some colors that I think are going to work well with that green skin flesh. So I'm going to use this Goblin flesh color, and I'm going to mix it in with my green skin flesh, which I used for the base. And I'm just looking to use that green skin flesh to bring up the Goblin flesh to bring up the green skin flesh into kind of a nice mid-tone here. Because I haven't done any washes on the skin. We just did the skin as a wash, using our Zenith Prime as kind of the way to cheat that out. And make sure that everything worked. So I just want to build up some nice highlights and layers, and then I'll probably go back and glaze it a little bit, but we're just going to use a little bit of blending, loosen up our paint a little bit. We'll just dive right in, make this work. Alright, yeah, if you haven't seen it, Josh did post the panel to play for Green Goblin, kind of giving everybody their first look at some of the rules to expect from Mr. Osborne here. I'm very excited to see how people like the character design. He was definitely one of the more interesting characters for us to do. I will say, if you enjoy having your characters have really different healthy and injured sides, I think Green Goblin is the most extreme character that we've ever done on that so far. He changes a ton. And this was really done because we were trying to figure out a way to kind of capture that split personality of the Green Goblin, right? You've got this really diabolical and somewhat genius Norman Osborn side, and then you've got the kind of enraged, must murder Spider-Man side that kind of comes out when he's against the ropes, or when he gets really frustrated. That psychosis kind of kicks in into overdrive, and so that's what I really wanted to showcase, that kind of split personality in a way in the game, and where we wound up I think I'm pretty happy with. But I talked about it a little bit last week on the stream. Green Goblin was really our first character in that initial batch of characters as we were building out the game that we kind of had to do a complete do-over on. His initial design was just too crazy and complicated, and so we went back and did a whole redo on him, and I'm really happy with where he turned out. I think it's a very cool spot. I know a lot of our testers had a lot of fun with him too. So this is the Norman Green Goblin, for those asking. So not Harry, not the heir apparent, the original king. The true Spider-Man nemesis. Just going to go in here and start highlighting up the nose and the cheekbones. One of the great things about the Goblin here is that he has such over-exaggerated, features that it makes this highlighting step really easy on the face, because we're just going to hit that really sharp bridge of the nose, we're going to hit the sharp chin, parts of the eyes, and then I'm just going to let everything else stay kind of sallow and darken those recesses. Then I'll, kind of accentuate that crazed, evil look. You get those deep shadows under the eyes and in the cheekbones and stuff, and that's really what, gives that appearance of villainy. A lot of people and characters, right? Same idea as to like when you're doing Halloween makeup or anything like that. You want to sallow up the cheeks with some darkness and make yourself look gaunt and kind of underfed if you're doing a monster look. It leads to that sinister, more skull-like approach. As people are afraid of skulls, it reminds them of their own mortality. And that's why a lot of our primal fears come from things that look like skulls. It reminds us of death and the fact that, at any point a tiger can come and just chomp us away. So. Alright, let's see. So again, she's in a bit of like mixed technique here, so I've got my second brush, do a little two-brush blending when I want to, but mostly I'm just trying to do some pretty traditional layer highlights, and I'm just looking for those raised areas and build them up. And then when I see a spot like on the arms and stuff where there's not exactly, or these thighs, where there's not exactly like really strong raised areas for definition, it's more of a cylinder, that's when I come in and I do a little bit of my two-brush blending, smoothing it out by taking my wet secondary brush that's clean and kind of pulling that paint around to give myself a nice blend. And that just helps make the color transitions look nice and smooth between the different highs and lows, and it will stop me from having to do 20,000 layers, because as you pull that paint it stretches, and as it stretches it of course has translucency to it, as all paint does. We've talked about this before, how paint is obviously very far from opaque. I don't think there's a single truly opaque paint, maybe black and black primer. Obviously with enough coats you can get it to be opaque, but all paint by its nature has got some translucency to it. And this is what makes the Zenith Prime technique work, because you play with that translucency so that it tints the surface rather than fully colors the surface. Of course we're doing that again here with our blending, and that we're pulling that paint out to make sure that translucency works, and therefore it allows the colors underneath to show a little bit, but it still tints the colors in spots. So we can just slowly go through and build up some nice layers here as we do it until we're happy with it. So. We did pick. I'm actually gonna be those asking about the painting protocols. I have mine, or I have my batch to show off today from our picks. So I'm going to be showing those after we get done, which is kind of why I wanted to dive in and get going on this Green Goblin here. And then Dallas will be wrapping out the rest of our picks on Thursday. So we're ready to go, man. We're going to do it. We had some really great entries for the texture one, and that was a lot of fun to see. I'm really looking forward to seeing, with all these Thanoses flying around and black orders and stuff. I'm seeing pictures everywhere on social media. You guys have been awesome. So much inspiration out there. So I'm very much looking forward to this month's challenge, which is of course Black Order in honor of our big boy Thanos. And yeah, it's going to be really cool to just go through, and of course you guys never make it easy, man. So much great stuff. I love them all. So we struggle to pick, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see what other people are working on, to get inspired by them. Makes me want to get back to the painting table and keep going. if you're not part of a regular hobby painting group, I would say I'd highly recommend it. It's so much fun to just hang out, hobby, and BS around the table. Even if it's a virtual table. We've been doing one with some folks Dallas and I have from Asmodee and stuff, and it's great. We just hop on some streaming stuff like Skype or Zoom or whatever, and we just hang out, we paint, and we talk, and kind of, you know, decompress for the day and get some great painting done. It's the most productive time I have all week when it comes to my hobby. So it's just a dedicated 2 hours of sitting down and hanging out, showing each other's works, and inspiring each other, answering questions. So much fun. So much fun. Yes, Dallas, well, you do lots. That's great. Everything's a competition with you. You're so competitive, Dallas. You're so competitive. Ugh, I'm Dallas. I'm the best. Sheesh. Sheesh. All right. So, I think I'm pretty happy with this green. I'm going to take it up one more level, which just means adding more of my Goblin flesh into my base color here. I'm just going to do some really quick poppy top highlights. And I think we'll be in a really good spot. And again, this is all kind of by feel and just going by layers, and knowing that if I go too high, I can always bring it down later with a little bit of a green glaze, which is a great way to tie colors and highlights together, is always just doing a glaze over the top of them. I recommend doing that for most things. It's a really great way to kind of smooth out your transitions and your blends. But again, we're just going for those little zings of color, where we would have natural pop. And of course we're doing this again also to just accentuate that I really like to do my characters in more of an animated, not a comic book style per se, but I like to really go for those more bright animation colors, kind of an in-between a true comic book style and a more realistic style. So I'm not afraid of using, you know, some really strong, bold colors. In fact, I love it. I love how bright you can really get away with making some of your color choices, how vibrant you can get them. And it just works really well for the medium and the comic book feel of these characters. You, of course, can get some really awesome results going gritty. There's amazing stuff out there from true comic book style with the hashing and stuff. I know Pagani's been very big on painting his NPCP stuff that way, our lead developer. That's kind of been his MO. So there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to this stuff. It's whatever makes you happy, whatever makes your collection your own. So many good approaches. I'm just going to take some of this pure Goblin flesh, which is pretty, a very yellow green, and we're just going to hit some spots here. Come back onto the shoulder because I'm really having fun highlighting the shoulder. Top of the bicep, that little part right there. Part right here. Come in and zing along this thigh. Blend that out. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to call that pretty good on our green. I'm very happy with that. Let that dry. Maybe we'll hit it with a glaze. Oh, I gotta get the tops of his ears. His pointy ears need their zing, man. That would have been disastrous. No zing on the pointy ears? Oof. What am I even doing with my life at that point? There we go. Now we got those ears popping. Alright. So we're going to move on, and I think where we're going to go next is we'll just do a little bit of the purple. So I'm going to use this sunset purple, which is what we used for the base last time. And I'm going to grab, what we got here that looks like it'll work well. Fuchsia? Maybe. So what I want for the purple is I'm either going to use kind of an off-white eggshell color. So for example, this birch color would be a really good one to highlight up with purple, because this will avoid, this yellow will avoid it from becoming pink, which I don't want, the yellow and that white. Or if there's kind of a fancy magenta color, which I don't think exists. Alright, we're going with the birch. So we'll just hope this doesn't desaturate it too much. And we'll play around with it. We'll see where we go here. I can always bring back that vibrancy with a glaze as well. Alright. But yeah, if you highlight your purples with just a pure white, obviously you're going to wind up going into that pinky range, and maybe that's what you want. A bit of that more pink feel. If you want to keep the vibrancy or kind of the depth of that blue to the purple, making sure that you use kind of an off-white, a more yellow color will maintain your purples a bit better. And I'll keep it more to that lavender color. So if you look on the palette here, my really dirty palette, you can see how we didn't go to pink, we went to that lavender color, so we're maintaining that purple. If I used white, like a pure white, you'd wind up pulling that purple in a much different kind of direction. Whoop. I would go much more in that pink direction. So you can see how much more pink this is, whereas this kind of like has a bit more of that purple to it. So it's degrees in tone, obviously, but that can be a really big thing. So all right. So let's get in here, loosen up our paint, get going. That birch wasn't quite as kind of yellow as I thought it was going to be. So, what do we got here? Just think about this for a second. Alright, let's just dive in. It's alright. We'll just use this as kind of like the super spot. And a little bit more purple back to that. I went a little too hot. A little too high, a little too high. That's a little better. Come in. Here's some of these areas that we want. Mostly the ridges now. I'm just kind of looking at those folds. Adding a little bit more color and life to them. Reclaiming a little bit of what that wash really toned down, because if you remember, did that purple wash to kind of get into the corners and deepen our colors, and now I just want to bring it back up just a little bit. There's a bit more accentuation on our volumes and stuff. So And then we're just going to build these up really quick. And bring it down, so. Whoop. So obviously Mr. Green Goblin will be coming out next month along with Miles and Gwen, or Spider-Man and Ghost Spider if you will. Kind of our Spider Web Warrior themed month. As many of you in the chat know, CP10 was supposed to come out quite some time ago, so this is a pretty exciting moment. We're finally getting our Spider people into the game like they were supposed to be at the start. As Dallas kind of explained on his stream last week where he was painting Miles and Gwen, and will continue to do so this week, so be sure to tune into that. 1 p.m. Pacific on Thursday. He finishes out those characters. They came in and we just weren't happy with how the engineering was turning out and where we were getting our detail and stuff, and so we put them back through the ringer and basically restarted the process of tooling and manufacturing from the start in order to get some really great quality stuff and to get something we could be happy with and we thought that everyone else would be happy with too. At the end of the day, you're just going to learn and get better, and we had learned so much by that point, even back then. We had learned so much that it was just, we just knew we could do better. And we knew those characters deserved it, and of course everybody else deserved it, and we deserved it too. So. The next convention we're planning on attending, you know, I couldn't even hazard a guess at this point. We're going to be doing stuff, obviously, at Virtual Gen Con. I'm sure everyone saw the post-it note on Friday. So we'll be attending Virtual Gen Con, doing some stuff there. That'll be a big thing. And then after that, I'm not entirely sure. It'll kind of depend on what places are doing and how the world works, and where we are. So everything's just such a big unknown right now. We're just kind of like rolling with the punches. You know, we want to make sure that whatever we do, we're keeping ourselves safe, we're keeping other people safe, we're being responsible. You know, responsible citizens to society and everything else, and not jeopardizing anybody's like health or well-being, right? That's the last thing that any of us want. So that's kind of where we're at. So I can't really hazard a guess. I mean, obviously Gen Con was a big one that we were going to do in person this year, and plans changed. I think PAX Unplugged is another one that we had presence at last year, that Dallas and I went to as well. I'm sure that was on the docket again for this year. But you know, with everything going on, I think that one's been pulled for the time being. So we'll see. We'll see. It's an exciting time to be alive, right? You know, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on. The thing that I know is that we'll be doing a bunch of cool stuff for Virtual Gen Con, as far as I know, and Josh can correct me, but the schedule has been submitted and should be up here, if not now, very soon. Can't remember if he said that if they were all done with that stuff on Friday or if it was this week. But we got some cool panels, some painting classes and seminars coming out. Of course, we're going to be showing stuff off for the game and things like that. We're just going to hang out. Excited for some of our development panels and stuff. We're going to talk about some cool stuff, just in terms of philosophy and how we approach, give some behind-the-scenes looks, if you will. So, should be really good. Should be really good, I think. Or at least as good as it can be while keeping everyone safe. And again, you know, that's the number one That's the number one priority. Just making sure that everyone is healthy and safe and happy and can continue to enjoy these hobbies and the things we do with each other and their loved ones for, as long as possible. There's no reason to take risks with that. So, I think I'm pretty happy with where we're at on this purple. Might do just a couple of really sharp spot highlights, a little zing, if you will. Some of these higher raised folds. Otherwise, it's just been the same process that I did on the skin. I'm just coming in, hitting those raised areas to accentuate the volume of the stuff and give the eye something to see so that it can read those details even better. Because again, this is all about illusions and somewhat helping the eye be able to process these smaller details. So we're just playing with how the eye normally sees and processes the world, and we're giving it a little helping hand by over accentuating those things using our artistic knowledge that every hobbyist has and continues to grow and progress in to create a little painting on this miniature that makes what's there even more present and more discernible to the viewer, and all kind of works together to become really cool. So, see, like I'm just really looking for those like really spiky, those really top areas to hit as I go through this. And that just helps define those shadows and those highlights even more. Gives that eye something to go with. So, pretty happy with that. On the purple, you can see that we kind of brought up some of the spots, maybe some definition and some design. So let's kick in and work a little bit on these pumpkin bombs. So I did the wash over orange. And I'm pretty happy where the pumpkins are in general. So I think I'm just going to work on the smoke now. So to start, we're going to grab a little bit of yellow. We're looking for coming off yellow, a warning yellow. The one that I have, if you're following along with scale for 75s at home, I'm using this Mars Orange, which is, and I'm mixing it with a bit of my favorite fantasy color, which is Lilith Yellow. This is such a great like yellow to mix in with oranges and stuff for flames and things like that. Just kind of like, it makes a really solid start color. We're just going to start at the base and we're going to paint our way mostly up. Of course, this is like, I could be the only person on earth who has this problem, but normally when you paint a miniature, you always think, okay, the bottom is the darkest part, and the top is the brightest part, right? I mean, that's highlighting. Except when it comes to fire and flames, because if you stare at a campfire long enough or any kind of flame or light source, you'll see that the closer you are to the source, the brighter it is, and the farther away from the source, the darker it is. And this totally throws me every time, even when I like mentally prepare myself and go in to paint it that way. It drives me nuts because it just looks wrong the whole time until I'm done and I walk away from it. So when you're doing fire or smoke or flamey smoke or anything like that, you want to make sure that the point closest to where that flame starts, so down here, is the brightest part, and the further away you get, the more you want to blend in your grays and your blacks. Or your darker oranges and stuff like that. Your darker colors go towards the top, and that's going to make it feel like real kind of fiery smoke. Again, for me, and I could be the only one in the world that has this problem, it feels 100% wrong. But, that's the way it is. So I'm going to switch over to this Tiamat Orange. And I'm just going to start working in some oranges into that yellow. And I'm also going to go back to that Lilith yellow, and I'm going to fill up some Lilith yellow just to make sure it's nice and bright towards the end. And then I'm going to grab some blacks and some grays, and we're going to probably wet blend in a little bit of smoke. So again, I'm just taking that Lilith yellow, that where the source of the fire is, I'm just making it nice and poppy bright. Almost white, because that's going to be the hottest point of the flame. And then I'm just blending it out as I go towards the top, so I get more of that yellow. And I'm going to grab this orange. I'm going to go kind of towards the top, and I'm going to leave my base yellow kind of in the middle here. And then I'm just going to blend down into that orange. Oh, I want to know which model Josh thinks has been his favorite to paint so far. I'm really curious. This is fascinating to me. Josh, answer the question. Quick, quick. The people want to know. Your adoring fans demand the answer to this question. Maybe adoring fan. I might be your only one. I'm not sure. I feel like there might be more though. Sweet. And then I'm going to grab some of this Tindalos red, which is a really nice deep, almost a red brown, really nice deep red. I'm going to mix it with my orange just a little bit. Let's make kind of like that nice really dark part of the smoke where it's really cooled down. Just gonna come in, we're just going to blend that out. I really don't want necessarily this dark red to be solid. I want it to be kind of mushed around and blended. You could do this wet blending as well and just mush your colors in, and that could be really fun, and it's a great way to do kind of flame. Because this area is kind of so small, I've opted to just use a little bit of wet blending, two brush blending. To kind of build it out and make it okay. Spider Foes versus Web Warriors is a first streamed game back, huh? I mean, you know, I think that's not an unreasonable request, depending on how things go. For sure. I could see it. Just got to convince Josh. He's the boss. He runs it all, man. He runs it all. Just want to make sure that I'm pulling a little bit of that dark color pretty close down to the bottom to just kind of bring it in and let it play with stuff. And then let's see how we have that nice kind of feel going on. And you see how we have that nice like burn going on, and then if we want to just take it one more step, you can just take a little bit of black or a really dark gray. I'm just going to use my black because it's like right here. And I'm just going to mix this into my red base that I did. Obviously, if you wanted to do like a more smoke effect rather than a flame effect, you could use a bunch of different grays like black and red and gray. And I'm just going to come in. I'm just really going to darken up that end. Give it kind of that, just that almost smoky, smoldering end, but not much. I might go on a little bit on this tip over here. Get back into focus there, Green Goblin. There we go. Go. Come in here where the hand is and kind of just muss that up. And this one we can be a little more sloppy with because it's hidden by the hand, so we're just trying to get that hint of dark in there. Kind of play that out, pull that down a little bit. Alright. So there we go. Got our flame on our pumpkin bombs going on. I'll just come back through really quick and do one last step of blending on this top one. Just to give this just a little more color because I got a lot of bright. Got a lot of bright going on right there. I want not as much bright. There. So we have some nice flamey smoke coming off of our ready to explode pumpkin bombs. I'm going to dive in there and give them some glow as well. So we're going to jump to some white sands. And we'll prep this while we move on to the glider. We're doing okay on time. And I'm just going to come in. I'm going to fill up those little pumpkin eye holes and the mouths with the white. And that'll let me come back through basically a yellow wash. I'll be able to get a really quick kind of like pumpkin glow going on without really worrying too much about the effect because they're pretty small areas. So. And if it spill over a little bit, that's okay. I'll just use my thumb to wipe some of that off. And also it's just going to help with the glow. So, alright, so we're going to dive in here. Come through. Like that. One of the ways you can make this really easy on yourself is if you loosen up your paint, use a lot of water on it, it'll just want to run right into those cracks anyway. Just take a little longer for it. So now we've got those faces nice and defined. Let's see. We'll hit its teeth really quick. So we'll come in with our black. Get that, define that mouth out. Just going to come in right here. Define the mouth. Come in, and I'm going to define the eyeballs. I'll use the classic trick of turning them upside down so I get the other eyeball. My hand you're right-handed, that eye is always harder to do. Flip them upside down, that can really help. Okay, so now we've got that stuff defined. Green Goblin eyes are usually pretty yellow, so I'm going to go back to my mix before it dries out. Come in. Just going to do the hard part on camera. One eye in. The other eye in. And one of the tricks I like to use if I go over on the eye rather than trying to line it back in is I'll just grab some black ink and make a quick like wash out of it, and you can actually just wash it back into those crevices, and that'll leave, you know, that nice eye definition. So I might want to do this on this side, but overall I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to grab a bit of my brighter yellow because I want these to kind of be like glowy. That. That. Whoop! Took them off camera for you. Alright, so now we have those really evil eyes. Grab my off-white and do the teeth. He's smiling. He's showing those sweet dentures a little bit. His crazy spiky teeth. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Cross our fingers that our pumpkin bomb is ready for its wash. Just come in with a bit of yellow. Because obviously this would be a pretty hot flame on the inside. Look at that. And then we'll let that dry and we'll come back in and we'll do a really thin coat of orange, and then we'll dot in some white. And that'll get our glow going really good. Since I'm feeling really saucy. Set those eyes with that yellow, it'll make it pop even more. Alright. I think we're pretty good on Goblin, so let's see. Got about 5 minutes, 7 minutes. We'll see what we can do on his glider here. Probably not much, but we'll take it as far as we can and then we'll knock out the rest later. So, we need to make a little wash here for the glider. So we're going to use a little bit of black ink. So Inktense black. I'm going to put in some, I'm going to use a little Inktense violet actually. Help tie that together a little bit more. A bunch of glazed medium. Mix that together and what do you get? A nice little wash. She's pretty purple, but I think that's okay. So let's just see what happens here. So there we go. Just wash this in really quick. Make sure that it doesn't pool too much. I'm just kind of trying to tint the color here. And you can see how that purple kind of shows through on that black. So we're going to get a nice tie into the overall suit without making our metal purple metallic. That's not the goal here. The goal is to just kind of give us that hue, that tone that'll tie it together with the Goblin and make it look nice and matchy. So you can use similar tones if you want to do that. You use complementary tones. There's a lot of different ways to approach this kind of stuff to make everything tie together. Use your tetrarchs. Dallas loves his tetrarchs. Get this washed really quick. This will just give us that nice shadow to start with, and then we'll go back and I'm just going to dry brush the glider with our base coat metal of, what are we using this guy? Thrash? Yep. Thrash metal from the scale 75 range. And then we'll go up to probably the heavy metal. I want to keep this kind of dark and gritty, but not like completely dark and gritty. A lot heavier on this underside because of course it is where all the shadow would be, so I'm going to be less concerned about slopping on the wash that we have going on here. It's also a part of the mini that no one is ever really going to look at, so you are allowed to be less concerned with the underside of the mini. Kind of the same idea as to why like I spent no time right here. Because I know that no one's really ever going to see that part. Because he's all bent over and being all cackly and mad. And no one's really going to pick up the mini and go, oh, well, look, you didn't really do much there. Like, yeah, I didn't. Because, you know, normal humans don't look at things like that. If he was going to a competition or something like that, obviously that'd be a little different. But this guy isn't. He's going on the table and on my shelf. So I'd rather have him be done and look cool than worry about, you know, the parts that you'll never see. Oop, back into focus. There we go. Alright, so that's done, looks like. I'll get this a little more on this. Avoid any big pools on the top of this bad boy. Okay, and I just want to highlight that leather, and then I think we're at a spot where I would call Green Goblin very done. So we're just going to use this Bosch Chestnut. Laying some highlights on that leather. For this, I'm probably going to go with a little stipple it on. So let's see, it's a little runny. Oh, it's very runny. On my brush, it's very wet. Who knows? So we're just going to come in. We're just going to use our classic two-brush blending technique here. Just to lay on some really quick highlight, just to give that satchel a bit more life. Just kind of want to pick out those colors really quick. Pulling out the shoulder strap. Around to this strap. which would obviously mean shadow, so we don't need to worry about it too much, but we just want to give it a little bit of that texture, feel. Come back to this. So you can see it right there. So we got a little bit more color on that. We'll let that dry and maybe go back and hit it one more time with something a little brighter to give it that metallic look. Come in with a little bit of orange ink on those pumpkin bombs. And just apply this to the whole thing. Give our pumpkins a little bit more definition. Let's come back in with my cleaner brush. All I'm really looking to do is just kind of push that orange ink to the very edges because I want that yellow to really spot through. That's just going to help our glow look really nice. Even though we're not quite dry yet, I don't care. Because I want to do this just to kind of put a bow on him, or at least as far as we're going to get today. So I'm going to mix a bit of pure white with my Lilith yellow to make a very, very near white pastel yellow. I'm just going to come in. I just want to give some nice little centered dot highlights. To really sell that pumpkin glow. Alright, so there we go. There is our Green Goblin sans completed glider, but otherwise, he is basically what I would call Dunzo. So we have some really sweet pumpkin bombs going on with the nice little glow. We got the mad cackle, we have the yellow eyes, purple outfit. Some nice greens going on in that cloak. So it's really just finishing out the base and the glider. And then messing with that smoke. So there we are on that. Let's go to different camera mode. All right, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and you're looking forward to seeing more on the Green Goblin coming up. I won't spoil anything for poor Josh because he'll get mad at me, and I know he's got some great stuff. But check out the panel to play if you haven't seen it. There's some really great nuggets of info in there in terms of how he plays, his hatred of Peter Parker, and how we put that into the game. A lot of fun stuff. So, of course, it is time to do the most exciting part here, which is we're going to be showing off our staff picks for the last painting challenge from last month, which of course was textures. So let's dive right in and take a look. So the first one I have here is from Zargarox, if I said that right, or Zargarox? Zargarox, that's what it is. Zargarox did an incredible job on this Black Dwarf, just throwing in some really crazy and awesome textures between the texture on the pants, and the metallics that they did on all the armor plating and kind of getting that blue hue in there. Really cool. But the thing that sold this one for us was obviously the skin tones and the way that they got that really great leathery, like rough texture. I kind of described it in my little like statement to the group as, you know, I don't want to hug this guy because I feel like he's just gonna feel like pure sandpaper, and he's gonna rub off all of my skin with his rough skin. You've also got some really great textures going on with the veins and how they made those pop and stuff. So just a really great job overall. Super fancy. I love everything about it. The next one I have coming up here is from Kane the Betrayer. So this was another staff pick that we really liked. It's a Baron Zemo, which is always a fun one. And he has just, one of the things I really love about the Zemo model, not just in that it's Zemo and he's one of the characters that I really like, not that that's why I picked it, but there's so many options for really exploring textures on this miniature. You've got the fur, you've got the leather bomber jacket, you've got the pants, you've got the medals, you've got, you know, the face covering, the crown. There's so many really fun different areas that you can dive into and explore textures. The fur is really well done here. I think, you know, you've got this really nice kind of like texturing going on in the pants. So he's got his Rockstar black leather pants on, I assume. The bomber jacket is nice and textured as well. And then, of course, the metal has this nice kind of stipple dry brush effect going on that gives it kind of this life and this worn look to it. So this one was another really great pick for us, and just something that really shows, you know, how you can take the miniatures to the next level by kind of paying attention to the different areas that you have on them. And the last pick that I have to show off to you guys before Dallas finishes it out on Thursday is from Geekery17. Not only is this Star-Lord just looking baller with the flames and the coat, and I love the Daily Bugle paper blowing away, but the other thing that I really appreciated was there was the person who did this one had a lot of different photos of how they went through the process of getting to this end result, you know, and they used things from stippling to dry brushing to everything else in between. The smoke cloud looks great. You can just feel the heat coming off of it. You see the little micro explosions in it. The way the paper's blowing away and the roughness they got there is super great. But I think for me, the leather jacket is really what sells it. That classic duster, the amount of, you know, just care that went into stippling the different layers on and getting that really cracked and worn leather look, to me sells it, because that's what the first thing I think about with Star-Lord is the helmet, and the second thing is that big duster, because he is a space cowboy. So just super awesome work on this. Really great use of textures all around between the metallics, and you see that differentiation between the old leather duster, the worn like brown pants, and then the metallics and the metals and their different like smoothnesses and stuff. So super awesome job, and really great pick. So there you go, guys. So that is it. I hope you guys had a blast painting a Green Goblin with me, hanging out. Looking forward to seeing what you guys do with Thanos. I've seen so many good Thanoses so far from the release last week. You guys are super fast. I'm jealous. And of course, looking forward to seeing what else you guys do. We also love watching all of the reports on games for people who find it safe to play and have the ability to do it. And of course, we're looking forward to seeing what you guys do with both Spider-Man and Ghost Spider and Green Goblin in the coming month when they release in August currently. So until next time, guys, stay safe. Be sure to check out Dallas' stream at 1 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday for him completing the Spider Folks from CP10. I hope you guys had a blast. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you on the next one. Peace!